The Italian invaders landed on the shores of Libya. They came with fire and iron, burning homes and killing the innocent. Armies and weapons, airplanes and cannons. The Italians believed Libya would be an easy morsel, swallowed without resistance. A tyrannical illusion that fear would silence the Libyan voice. But deep within the Green Mountain, there was another voice, entirely different. An elderly man, his turban white, his shoes dusted with the soil of the earth, his feet bare upon the rocks. He was not seeking false glory, nor a banner of victory for history to hang his name upon. He carried something far greater, faith in a homeland and the purity of an unconquerable idea. Omar Al-Mukhtar, a man in his 70s who forged from the rifles of the poor a sword that struck fear into the might of an empire. Here begins the story of Al-Rahiba, when the invaders believed the road was paved before them, only to find a trap waiting behind the valley's silence. This is the face the invaders' books never showed, the face of a land that refuses to be crushed beneath the wheels of the greedy. Here is Al-Rahiba, a moment that would teach those who believe power and appearance alone is enough. In 1927, the Italians tightened their siege on the Green Mountain. They sent campaign after campaign, believing they could crush the backbone of the resistance. But each time, Omar Al-Mukhtar and his men would vanish behind the rocks, striking like lightning, then melting back into the desert. He would lay the greatest ambush for them. The elder of the Mujahideen did not choose his battles in vain. He studied the routes, watched the patrols, and knew that the Italians would pass through this valley feeling secure. There, in Al-Rahiba, he would lay the greatest ambush for them. The elder of the Mujahideen did not choose his battles in vain. He studied the routes and watched the patrols, and knew that the Italians would pass through this valley feeling secure. There, in Al-Rahiba, the plan was precise, the timing set. Al-Rahiba would write a new chapter in the story of the resistance. The Italian force moved in long ranks. Hundreds of soldiers armed to the teeth, their rifles leading the way and cannons trailing behind. The road was narrow, winding between high rocks and dense trees, yet they advanced confidently, as if walking into a safe promenade. The officers at the front laughed, and one sneered, "Will these barefoot men stop the army of Rome?" Arrogance marched beside them, heavier than their rifles. But high up in the mountains, eyes were watching. Simple men, in worn cloaks, bare feet, waiting for the moment of clash. In their hands, old rifles. Some rusted, yet their hearts burned brighter than iron. At the summit overlooking the valley stood Omar Al-Mukhtar. He did not move, did not speak, but his eyes said it all. You will not return from this valley as you entered. The Italians advanced step by step, deeper into the trap, and as the road narrowed, the silence of the Mujahideen grew heavier, until the valley itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the signal. Tight ranks, wagons burdened with light cannons, and horses moving slowly over the sand. Between them rose military chants and confident laughter. They believed their journey would be nothing more than a short pursuit of the remnants of a defeated force. It never occurred to them that every step in that valley was only bringing them closer to the dragon's mouth. Omar Al-Mukhtar waited for the decisive moment. One of his companions whispered to him, "They're close, Sheikh. They've entered the heart of the trap." Omar Al-Mukhtar shook his head, and he spoke in a voice that did not falter. Be patient, now." The soldiers cried, "Allahu Akbar," and in a single moment the sky thundered. Rifles erupted from every direction, turning the valley into a hell of bullets and fire. The soldiers fell like wheat in a raging storm, their horses fleeing in panic, their officers shouting in vain to regroup the ranks. Bullets rained down from above, leaving them no cover, no shelter, as if the very rocks had unleashed their flames. Order vanished among them, and the soldiers faltered in chaos, fleeing right and left to no avail. At that moment, the officers raised signals for help, and a new support force of 500 soldiers rushed to aid the front. But when they reached the valley's edge, They found the ground covered in smoke and corpses and heard the cries of their comrades choking under the roar of the takbir. The Mujahideen had left their high positions, striking from every side. With swords and short rifles, they stormed the ranks, shouting, "Allahu Akbar!" The enemy's heart trembled, their resolve shattered before an indomitable will. In less than an hour, the battle was over. Over 70 Italian soldiers lay dead on the sand, and plentiful spoils of weapons, ammunition, and cannons fell into the hands of the Mujahideen. It was only 1 hour, but enough to erase from the Italians' minds their illusion of absolute superiority, to show them that the Green Mountain was not easily conquered, and that Libya had not yet bowed. One officer shouted, "Impossible! How is this happening? A force like our army defeated in just hours?" Another slammed his fist on the table. "We must find out who leads these barbarians. Who is this ghost that moves them?" The Battle of Al-Rahiba left the Italian command in shock. It was not merely a military defeat, but the collapse of an image they had long promoted. The image of invincible power. From the heart of the desert, the name of an elderly sheikh rose, until the most pressing question in the offices of Rome and Tripoli became, who is Omar Al-Mukhtar? Thus, the sheikh emerged from the Battle of Al-Rahiba as he had entered it, proud and steadfast, unmoved by spoils and uncorrupted by victories. He knew the war was not over, and that every triumph was only a station along a long road. But now that road had become clear to all. Italy was no longer alone in Libya, for standing against it was a man named Omar Al-Mukhtar. The battles of the Libyan resistance, led by Omar Al-Mukhtar, proved that resisting occupation is not a passing choice, but a necessity imposed by the dignity of the land and the freedom of the people. It is a path walked only by men who believe that dying for the homeland is true life. Omar Al-Mukhtar, despite his old age, was a symbol of resistance and sacrifice, the man who shattered the aura of a great power and instilled in the hearts of his men the certainty that willpower surpasses weaponry. As it is said, right without power is overcome, but power without right is fleeting. And so history continues to echo his name, the Sheikh of the Mujahideen, Omar Al-Mukhtar.